Two people can earn the exact same salary, literally down to the dollar. Fast forward 20 years, and one of them is completely financially free, living life entirely on their own terms. But the other? They're still living paycheck to paycheck, totally exhausted, and just fundamentally stuck. So what actually happened here? Well, most people would say the first person just got incredibly lucky, or maybe they stumbled into a crazy good investment. But that is completely wrong. What you're about to discover in this explainer is that the difference isn't luck at all. It's actually a hidden game, a completely invisible set of rules playing out right in front of us every single day. The massive gap between these two people, it represents the great divide in our modern economy. Look, for decades, we've all been handed a very specific script, right? Go to school, get a safe job, work hard, save a little bit, and eventually you'll be fine. But let's be real, that formula is broken. While one person runs endlessly on a hamster wheel, basically trading the absolute best years of their life for a retirement that just keeps moving further and further away, the other person is playing an entirely different game. It's a game the top 1% play effortlessly, while the rest of the world doesn't even realize they're on the field. So what exactly is this hidden game of money? Honestly, it's a question that should make you stop right in your tracks. Because once you actually see the answer, you really can't unsee it. Realizing how this game operates is going to make you completely rethink everything you know about earning, saving, and spending. It forces you to look at your own bank account, your own daily routine, and seriously ask yourself, am I the player here, or am I being played?
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the money trap.
This right here is the foundational concept that keeps the middle class totally stuck. The money trap is that perpetual, endless cycle where you exchange your time for money. Most of us think this is just how the world works, right? It's the only way to survive. You give an hour of your life, you get an hour's worth of pay. But here is the massive problem. Your time is strictly finite. You literally only have 24 hours in a day, and you're spending at least 8 of them sleeping. So if your income is directly tied to your time, your wealth has an absolute unbreakable ceiling. You're locking yourself into a system that guarantees you will never be truly free, simply because the exact moment you stop working, the money stops flowing. But this is where most people make their biggest mistake, and it catches almost everyone off guard. A higher salary does not equal wealth. We constantly chase that next raise, the next big promotion, convinced that if we just make, say, an extra 20 grand a year, we'll finally be rich. But what actually happens in reality? We buy a nicer car, we upgrade to a bigger house, maybe take some more expensive vacations. The trap just gets more comfortable. It gets lined with velvet, sure, but it is absolutely still a cage. Earning more money within that time for money paradigm, it just creates a much more expensive lifestyle to maintain, not true financial independence. Which brings us to Section 2, the real wealth gap. Now, this next rule is the one that changes absolutely everything you've been taught. It totally shatters the illusion we see every single day on our feeds. On one side, we have what I call looking rich. Society constantly sells us on designer clothes, leased luxury cars, and massive mortgages funded entirely by debt. It's a lifestyle totally chained constant labor, carefully curated for social media. But behind the scenes, it's secretly causing massive financial anxiety. You're only accumulating expenses. On the flip side is being wealthy. Truly wealthy people don't care about looking rich. They care about planting trees that are going to bear fruit while they sleep. They care about continuously acquiring assets. Now, an asset is simply something that puts money into your pocket whether you're working, vacationing, or just resting. The illusion of wealth is super loud, but actual wealth, it is remarkably quiet.
Let's break this down further in Section 3, the 4 levels of money.
I want to walk through this methodically, and as we do, I want you to honestly ask yourself exactly where you currently stand on this ladder. Level 1 is survival money. Basically, you're living purely paycheck to paycheck. If the income stops for even 2 weeks, disaster strikes. It's incredibly stressful. Then we have Level 2, comfort money. And, this is where most successful professionals actually get stuck. You have a stable income, you easily pay your bills, you maybe take a nice trip once a year, but you have zero actual freedom. You still have to show up on Monday morning no matter what. Then we hit Level 3, growth money. This is the massive pivot. Right here, you are actively investing. You're buying assets or you're building businesses. You're finally playing offense, not just defense. And ultimately, that leads to Level 4, freedom money, the holy grail. This is the point where the income generated by your assets completely exceeds your living expenses. Your money is finally working for you, totally independent of your physical labor. But this brings us to a really massive, glaring question. Millions of people are stuck in that Level 2 comfort money stage, completely terrified to make the leap. They just accept the velvet cage because the alternative feels way too risky. So how do you actually cross that divide? What in the world actually bridges the massive gap between a stable, boring paycheck and absolute level 4 financial freedom? The secret lies in Section 4, the rich person's mindset. The answer to crossing that crazy chasm lies entirely in the software you run in your head. And almost nobody teaches this framework in school, which makes it the ultimate differentiator. The fundamental split in how people view the world is ownership versus employment. Think about it. The middle class is hyper-focused on employment. They want a safe job within a company. They want climbing a corporate ladder to be their path to success. The wealthy, though, they are utterly obsessed with holding the keys. They don't just want a job, they want to own the company. They want to own the real estate, the equity, the intellectual property. They realize that true leverage doesn't come from working inside someone else's system. It comes from owning the systems themselves. And this mindset absolutely dictates every single dollar spent. It all comes down to assets versus liabilities. When a middle-class person gets a nice bonus, what do? They go out and buy a liability. A boat, a luxury watch, a brand new car right off the lot. Basically a hole in the water that immediately loses value and just drains their cash through maintenance and insurance. But the wealthy, they buy assets. When they get a windfall, they buy factories, real estate, stocks, or a piece of a private business. They buy things that are going to continuously spit cash back into their pockets month after month, year after year. Now, to actually pull this off, it requires immense discipline. The rich person's mindset relies super heavily on two main pillars: practicing long-term thinking and harnessing the insane power of compounding. Look, while most people out there are desperately searching for a quick 30-day return or gambling on the next viral crypto coin, the wealthy are thinking in decades, literally decades. They understand that compounding is like a silent engine working for them at 2 in the morning. They just allow their assets to snowball, quietly growing larger and larger in the background, completely untouched by the daily panic of the markets. Let's move from theory to reality in Section 5, the ultimate wealth machine. Okay, let's take this from theory into reality and look at the actual architecture here. Because a wealthy person's empire isn't just one lucky stock pick. No way. It is a diversified, highly systemic machine. To break it down, about 30% of their focus might be on scalable businesses that generate active cash flow. Another 30% is parked securely in passive investments, like index funds or real estate, just to capture that sweet compound interest. Then, 20% is fully dedicated to continuously upgrading high-value skills that the market will pay an absolute premium for. And that final 20%, it's deeply invested in building powerful networks. Because in this hidden game, who you know radically accelerates what you know. They construct this systematic fortress, totally replacing the super fragile concept of relying on a single paycheck. So this right here is your actionable blueprint. If you want to stop playing the losing game, you absolutely must adopt these actions. Build businesses, even if it just starts as a tiny side hustle from your kitchen table. Acquire investments aggressively and consistently. Develop skills that machines or cheaper labor can't easily replace. Grow a network of people who push you higher and force you to level up. And above all else, create multiple income streams. True financial freedom isn't just a single river. It's a massive reservoir fed by a dozen different streams. That way, if one stream completely dries up during a recession, your machine just keeps running flawlessly. And really, it all boils down to this incredibly profound revelation. Money is not just about how much you earn. It is about whether you control your money or your money controls you. Think about it. If your money requires you to wake up at 6 a.m., commute in gridlock traffic, and sit in a cubicle doing something you hate just to survive, well, your money controls you. You are literally its employee. But if your money works tirelessly in the background, buying your time back so you can spend it with your family, traveling, or pursuing your actual passions, then, my friend, you are finally the master of your money. Which leaves us with one final, totally unavoidable question. Now that you've seen the blueprint and you know exactly how the rich get richer, are you going to start playing the hidden game? Or will you stay stuck in the trap? The choice is entirely yours. If you're ready to actually take control of your financial future and learn the exact strategies to build your own wealth machine, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more deep dive explainers just like this one. Seriously, don't let your money control you for another day. Thank you so much for joining me in this explainer, and I will see you in the next one.